All right, I guess we're live. Welcome everybody to CCFG Garage. We got Joe with us from CAMAROFEST tonight for our live question and answer. Excited to have you here, Joe. Thank you so much. Thank you for being a supporter of the channel. Thank you to CAMAROFEST for being a supporter of the channel. Been a big fan of the show for many years. Unfortunately, never had an opportunity to get down there, but it is on my bucket list to get down. So don't stop anytime soon, please.
If we can make bucket list status, I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you guys are phenomenal. What you guys have done in 10 years, and I want to kind of get to that in a minute because it's become such this phenomenon that I just I'm more in awe than anything for all the hard work that you guys have put into this.
Well, thanks.
And you guys have a loyal following. Every year, guys are like, when can we buy tickets and whatnot, right? So, yeah, it's become a big phenomenon. So, I mean, hats off to all you guys. I know it's a big group effort.
It is.
Yeah.
Mike and I have done this for a few years now. But prior to that, we've got a team, like a core team of probably about 8 of us. And then outside of that, there's got to be close to 30 people that all participate in some fashion. And without any one of them, there's something that's not happening, whether it's
right.
distribution of the shirts or running the like last year we did the concert and that. So it is absolutely a team effort. I'm glad you mentioned that because it's not just us.
No. And you know what? I mean, going back to when we were doing, when we started, we started at the tail end of when the 4th gen was just about done, right? We started in 2000, but we really didn't get our feet on the ground really until the car was done, right?
Right.
02. And then it was, a lot of people were like, well, why are you starting this when the car is about to end? I'm like, well, we have 4 other generations that, and the following was still there, right?
Yeah.
So
that's the thing, right? Just because the car's ending doesn't mean, I mean, you've got years and years prior of people who have bought it. So they want to do something with it.
Yeah. So, we didn't struggle, believe it or not. We did quite well. Our first show in 03, and then we really didn't get into, I mean, my big thing was, I want to be the biggest and the best. And then by the time, you get to the weekend show part, you're like, what have I created? It's like, because people don't realize how much work goes into an event like yours,
mm-hmm.
right? Where you're, like I said in the pre-show here, right? I would get 4 weeks of vacation and I would use almost all of them up doing stuff for the club, right? And I don't begrudge doing it. You know what? I love doing it. My wife and I were both into it at the time, my wife later become the vice president after, the co-founder kind of stepped away and our vice president left. So, it was even more enjoyable then because I got to spend time with my wife and not away from her and whatnot. And she just brought a certain element, right? So we would spend a lot of time checking out venues and, certainly when it comes to the weekend show, you want to make sure you got the right venue. You want to make sure we're doing a cruise. We weren't quite to the extent that you guys are with the drag racing and the motocross, and but I know that cruise that we did in 2012, it was many millions, probably 22 trips on that cruise route, just planning a cruise route, tweaking it up a little bit, and that's just one portion. And then you got to go spend time with sponsors and do all that, right? So a lot of people don't realize that how much work goes into that 2-day show, and it's months and months of planning, right?
Oh yeah,
and it's a lot of sacrifice for a lot of people.
Yeah, so, I don't know. So I don't know if I'd call it a sacrifice, but it's definitely you've got to want to spend that time. A lot of people watching probably know Scott Settlemeyer, and very distinctly, I have a memory of him coming up to us our 2nd year and saying, "So how's it going? And you guys gonna keep doing this? Everything okay?" And he seemed very concerned for some reason. And we said, "Yeah, Scott, it's great." And he goes, "So how much money are you losing this year? And we said, well, I mean, it's kind of like $0. We worked it out so that, you know, a couple of the people that are helping out, we bought their plane tickets, you know. And he goes, wait a minute, you're not losing money on this? And he said, no, people show up and they like it, and we've got enough people, and it covered the track costs, and because you've got something here then. So that was kind of my first eye-opening, like, oh, maybe we're doing something okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I remember like when we did our 2012 show, and it was probably, and I was in that 12 and 13 fall shows because they were weekend events. Again, they were nothing as huge as CAMAROFEST is. But I remember leaving the hotel in 12 and pulling out my Visa and paying for the dinners and all that because we knew the money was coming, but it wasn't there yet, right? And we still had some other people to pay for all the admissions and all that. So it was kind of like, okay, yeah. And hey, again, I don't regret it, but I can certainly relate to what you're saying, right? So, and it's funny because I reached out to Scott tonight, and I didn't even really think about it. I should have been more organized, but you know, I've got a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes with family that's kind of gotten my attention elsewhere. But having Scott, I mean, Scott come to our first weekend event, and you know, again, like you have known Scott for years. And Scott is such a treat to have to an event because of his personality, and he's just, you know, honestly, like him and I went out for dinner that night, and you know, it's just some of the stuff that he knows and has been involved in. It's just it blows my mind, right?
He's a walking, talking FBody encyclopedia.
Yeah. So, you know, always look forward to seeing Scott, you know, catching up and just seeing him around the other enthusiasts and whatnot. You know, always a pleasure to see Scott. And if you can get Scott out to your, then you know what, it's and you know what, he's awesome that way. Certainly, it's a lot easier in the U.S. than it is for him to come up to Canada. But hey, for us, a couple of times he's done it for some of our sister clubs up here. You know, Scotty's awesome. I love Scotty. He's awesome, right? What he's been involved in with the car, and his passion is, you know, just as much as we have, right? So, but that's cool, yeah. And I remember seeing some you know I remember seeing some pictures on Facebook about past CAMAROFEST, and you know, Scotty signing autographs. It's like, you know, pretty soon, you know, get him some bodyguards or something because, you know, once he shows up and people know he's there, it's you know, the guy just stands there and just signs autographs all afternoon, right?
Oh, so, he's a celebrity. He doesn't think so, but he definitely is. You mentioned bodyguards.
Sure is.
Funny story when he showed up. He's been to a lot of them. He hasn't been to every one. We started overlapping dates with his cousin Tom Henry's show in Pennsylvania.
Right.
He's tried to alternate, you know, as often as he can. And one year he came and they had the GM team had like I think they were Suburbans. And if you know Scott, at some point he's mentioned the dreaded black Suburban. And they were rental cars, but he made up inverted vinyl stickers, and he put them on the hoods of these things. It said the dreaded black Suburban. So if they were behind you, you know, you're reading that in your rearview mirror. It was pretty funny.
I think I have a photo of that from the homecoming, because you came up to the homecoming, did you not? When the 5th gen first came out?
Yeah, I think I did. I did.
Because I'm pretty sure I have a picture of that black Suburban. I was trying to do a couple of videos last week, and I come across it, and I was like, that's phenomenal. Like, I remember that day like it was yesterday, right? So, but so that's cool. So hopefully I did reach out to Scott, see if he wanted to pop on and say hi to everybody, but I haven't heard from him again. It was last minute, so whatever. I'm not going to hold it against him, but
no problem.
So a couple things, a little bit of housekeeping here. So I'm interested to know how CAMAROFEST started. I mean, when I see something, you know, as popular as what you guys have now, I'm always interested as to how something has become so big, how it started.
Sure. It honestly, it kind of started as an accident. And it's, I'll tell the story, but we, this was back in 2006 when the concept came out. We started a forum called CAMARO5.com. There were a lot of other forums around at that time. There was Camaro Z28. I think there was, oh gosh, I'm forgetting the other two that I was always on. But anyways, it was like forum world, right? And everyone was exploding over this concept car. We kind of gravitated towards the Camaro 5 forum, and people had their own spots. But in our little world, we had like 8 or 9 moderators on that website. We became really close friends over those 3 or 4 years leading up to the car. 2010 rolled around. Cars were starting to get in people's hands. And one of our moderators, Chris Valdez, had this idea: we should all get together. And I think it started first as just kind of a cruise, cars and coffee kind of deal. And one of the guys had the idea: let's rent a drag strip. Let's go drag racing. And they found a smaller drag strip in Valdosta, Georgia. And they figured, okay, there should be enough people in the Georgia, Florida, Alabama area to do a small show. And it wasn't even a show. They just wanted to, as friends, go meet up, rent a drag strip, and have fun. Well, they were using this forum to organize it. And everybody in the country can read this forum. So what ended up happening was people from California, people from New York, people from Midwest, they're all, asking, can we come? Is it closed to people who don't live there? And of course we said no. So that went off, and I'll never forget. It was the first one we ever did. We didn't do pre-sales or anything like that. It was just kind of a, we'll front the deposit, come on down, pay at the gate, and we'll go drag racing.
Wow.
And when everybody showed up, well, first of all, we got there early. We met up with the track organizer, the track manager. She was a wonderful woman, but she completely did not believe that we were going to get much of anybody to show up. And so they were kind of tight pocketed as far as opening the concession stand and the bathrooms. And so it was sort of this kind of, we weren't fighting with her, but it was kind of rolling our eyes like, oh, come on, we got all these people coming. We need this stuff. So the next day was, the show. People showed up. And at this point, it had evolved to vendors, autocross, drag racing. It was still one day, but much bigger than we thought it was going to be. And according to the forum, we were going to have hundreds of people.
Right.
But still, we're sitting there going, are we really? We didn't know. So gates open up, and there is a line a mile and more long of nothing but Camaro. And back at that point, nobody had seen these cars. It was new, that it had just come out. So we've got this mile or two of new Camaros from all over the country. And as soon as that track manager saw those people line up, everything opened. All the lights came on. Everybody was happy and excited. What can I do for you? How can I help? And we had a great time.
Very cool.
Yeah. So that's how it started. Excuse me. And it just sort of persisted. The people that came, that started, you mentioned loyal followers. We've had a core group of people come to every single one of these fests, no matter where we put it. And we did bounce around for a while. And then we've got a bunch of new people every year. So that second year, that core group said, let's do this again. That was fun. But can we go to the West Coast? So we looked at Las Vegas. The prices out there were just out of our reach at the time. So we found a track in Arizona, in Chandler, I think it's south of Phoenix. And they played ball with us. And again, it was that thing where nobody believed us. It was this, hey, we're going to bring 500 Camaros to your event. Can we rent your track? And you get the rolled eyes and okay. And pretty quick, we developed this, that we call it the parking lot party. It's not organized, but now it's kind of is. But the
Right.
parking lot party atmosphere just happened. There were people rolling around with their trunks open and a bar set up and swapping liquor bottles, and it was just a good time. So we decided if we're going to do this again, we need to give people a good place for that to happen.
Sure.
Let's have a couple of hotels next to each other. So that became sort of a priority when we go to start one of these shows. Is where, again, we were moving around at the time. Where can we go that has a cluster of hotels close to a drag strip? And that's kind of what led us to Chandler. So we called the hotel and said, "Hi, we'd like to put a block together for our people. We want to make sure everybody can be together." And the response is, "Well, how many do you need? Like 20 rooms?" We're like,
"No, we need about 200."
200, yeah. And every single time for those first 3 or 4 years, it was, "Yeah, okay, we'll give you 50." And they would sell out in 12 hours. And then they relieved us. "Oh, okay. How many? You said 200, right? Okay, let's get those going." And so that was our first few years. We went from Chandler, Arizona to Indianapolis. We tried to stay at Indianapolis because that was our biggest one of those 3 years. I think the weather kind of hit us on that second year that we stayed. Then we went down to Houston, and then Bowling Green. And Bowling Green was like magic. They had everything, and it was all really close. So we had at that point we had grown to drag strip, autocross, 2 days, road course, hotel parking lot party, cruise, and like I think we counted in Indianapolis close to 1,000 cars. It's like, okay, we're going to keep doing this, but we got to find a place where we can do all that stuff. And the folks at the Bowling Green Visitors Bureau are gold. They have.
I was just going to say, because of the Bowling Green facility, it's got to be, because they have the logistics and the infrastructure and all that to handle big events, right? So
yeah, and they want us there. That it's not a can I push in and take over your town? It's what can we do for you? We can't wait for you to come back. And that's great. So and our people, the folks that come to the Camaro Fest are the reason that we have that attitude. They've got groups of people that they don't push out of town, but they don't really, they don't help as much as they could because they make a mess of things or they're racing in the street or whatever. And our people, for the most part, don't do that stuff. So they love
respect.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what I think? I think I might have known that Camaro 5 and Camaro Fest were together. I don't know. I remember buying my 2010 and when I first seen the car and we first had it when it first came out, that pre-concept version. I mean, there was a couple up here. Obviously, there was lots down there, right?
Right.
We had it in a couple of indoor shows. I fell in love with the car, and so when I got my 2010, obviously, we were thanks to Camaro 5. Camaro 5 helped promote a lot of our events. Certainly the 40 Area show, right? And we got a lot of the Camaro 5 people out for that show. So I think I knew that, but maybe it's been a while. I don't know. The memory's not as good as it used to be. But
so the original name of the event was actually Camaro 5 Fest because that was
I didn't know that. Yeah,
what we did. I think the second time we went to Bowling Green, we dropped the 5 because we were starting to wonder if that was sounding too exclusive. So plus at that time the 6th gens had come out and it was like, all right, we might want to drop the number. So we switched it to Camaro Fest, and it's been associated with the site. We started there. We used the platform to advertise to people and get information out and all that stuff. But I don't know how you've kind of perceived things, but forums they're still around and very useful, but they're not as popular as they used to be.
Well, we never had a forum like you guys, but I mean, let's be honest. I get millions of an eighth of a person like you guys do, but even ours has died off. Where at one time, we were probably 30, 40 people,
Right.
at any
And that's just it.
it
Doesn't
was
really matter
never
what
a third it
size
was
it
never
is.
a thirdgen.org
Right.
or a more modern Camaro 5 or Camaro 6, but
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, so
obviously it's such
we
a big
we
more.
tried to stick with the times. We migrated after we changed the number or took the number off, just
Yeah,
became Camaro Fest. We tried to appeal to more people, so we did the Facebook thing, we got the Instagram thing, we got followers, and so
right.
we still go on the forum, but now we're less associated, I guess, and it's not for any reason other than just more people are on social media as opposed to forum platforms.
Yeah,
I think it's helped us because if you don't know to look for Camaro 6 or Camaro5.com, you might never find this event.
right.
Whereas
Everybody
our
knows Facebook.
right, everybody knows Facebook, and if you just search Camaro or you see one of our ads or something like that, it might come across your screen.
Right.
Our analytics for like because now we do pre-sales, we're seeing about 70% of the population of the fest, any given year is new people who've never been.
Right.
So, that's great.
Yeah.
And I don't know that we would have got that off of the forum.
What I'll do is I'm not gonna do it now, but I'll do it after. Is I'll pop the link for the Facebook group up into the chat so people
Yeah.
know where to go and whatnot, right? In case so do you guys? I know even myself. I remember the early Camaro Fests where my perception was this is like more of a modern Camaro 5 at the time, Camaro 6
Right.
show, where it's not, right? Like it is strictly Camaro, is it not? Or is it Camaro and Firebird?
It's Camaro and Firebird.
It is strictly
it's just hard to work into the name.
yeah, I know, fair enough. I mean, hey, listen, we did the same thing, right? We had
Yeah.
to modify our name, so
Right. We've had, in fact, I was just thinking about this before we got on. I want to say the second or third year in Bowling Green, the autocross had a WS6 participant, and they were killing it out there.
nice.
I think they were top 3 or something like that by the end of the day. So it is mostly attended by late generation Camaro owners. That's just how we started. The pictures show that's who shows up. But we've got car show classes for everything. We've got drag racing is just kind of open to everybody at this point. Autocross, we try to class people as best we can according to kind of the different Camaro performance levels, because a lot of people still have relatively stock cars. So yeah, everybody's welcome, and it's kind of fun actually to have non 5th or 6th gen cars there, because it mixes it up, and we lots of Corvettes will show up.
Really, eh?
We'll have a Camaro family that decided, mom wants a Corvette this year, and they'll bring their stuff and have a good time. So yeah, it's open to everything.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. So I think, I don't know if you remember BBOMG, Hilton and Scott originally, right?
Yep.
I think they kind of suffered from the same thing, right? So, Scott was part of our group, and they started their own, and we wanted to support them, and they kind of suffered from the same thing. They were open to everybody, but 95%, 98% of it at the time, right, was Gen 5 cars. So,
right.
You can sing it from the rooftop 100 times, but I think it's more. That's why certainly when I was doing the promo video, I was very, putting out that it's not just Gen 5, Gen 5 and 6 cars, right? You guys have 70s and and all that there, right? So, I was very careful and intentionally made that mix in that promo video,
right?
To say, hey, like it's open to everything. I wasn't sure about the Firebird part, but
yeah, I don't know how to say this and be nice about it. I kind of feel bad for the Firebird group because they, by name, they're somehow separate, but it's they'll shoot me over this, but it's the same car and it's the same group of people, it's the same company, and it's awesome to have them participate. So we're
certainly from a fourth gen's perspective, you know, some would say that Trans Am's a better car, and I don't know that I would disagree with them. I mean, you know, driven both, right? Driven Firehawks,
Mhm.
driven, you know, SS's, and you know, it's unfortunate what's going on with that car, and you know, certainly real quickly, we had talked about later on when the Gen 5 cars come out, you know, well, why don't we just change the name? And I'm like, no, because we represent both cars, right? That's why we
Right.
left, you know, started Aero Club, but we incorporated into an FBody club at the time. And after the car was gone, it was like, well, we still represent the F bodies, and that's leaving the F body there is representing the Trans Am, right? So,
Right. And for us, I guess we come at it from the other side of that coin is our world started with the 5th and 6th gen. I mean, we aren't,
right.
you know, carryovers from the 4th generation. A couple of us are. I actually shouldn't say that. But our excitement kind of started when that concept came out. It wasn't a rekindling for us. It was new. And so we welcome everyone who came before, and we certainly know we're not the first people to try and do this stuff. But it just so happens that it ends up being more 5th and 6th gen guys that show up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know what? And you know what? It's easy car to kind of gravitate towards because A, they're a newer car, and B, you know, they're better made out of the box. I mean, you had to do a ton of stuff to, you know, to a third gen, and you had to do some stuff to a fourth gen off the dealership floor. Now with these cars, you really, I mean, you don't, especially if you drive like a car like yours, you don't really have to do anything to it. You know what I mean?
You know, you could, you
Oh, sure,
could,
you can always do more.
but I
But
don't know. Yeah, I don't know that the need word has to be in there.
yeah. So, okay, that's cool. So, so it's 2 days. It's 2 days this year.
Yes, yeah, 2-day event, Friday and
10th.
Saturday.
Okay. Okay. And what's the cost for? Is there a cost for just the show and kind of what's included, if you don't mind?
Sure. Yeah, yeah. So it's just, I guess it's a little bit of a misnomer when we say it's a 2-day event. The main event is a 2-day deal.
Right.
On Thursday beforehand, we're doing a road course, a track day at the Corvette Museum road course, which if you've never been
Nice.
before, it's astounding. When they built it, they picked corners and turns and straights from the best tracks across the world, and they
Wow.
incorporated into this track. It's still new by any track standards, and even though unfortunately the tornadoes kind of blew through last year, the road itself, the track is fine. It was the buildings and the structures that they were using for offices that kind of got whacked.
Right.
They're already in the process of rebuilding them. So anyways, that's happening on Thursday. So it really is a 3-day event if you choose to do that.
Right.
And so I guess I'll start there. If you do the road course and you do Friday and Saturday, you get the wristband for all that stuff together. We have a bundle. We also throw in a free shirt, an event shirt, and it's $375. And that's,
Nice.
we call it the all-in racer pass because you're doing everything.
Right. Which is pretty good for 3 days and everything that's kind of included in it.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
So,
I mean, you go to a single track day around this time now, I'm thinking it's probably in the $300 range for just like a road course.
yeah.
So, you know, I agree. And I'm trying not to be biased about it, but I think it's a good deal if anybody wants to hang out for the weekend. And if you're traveling down, a lot of people stay and do all that. If drag racing's not your thing, you know, autocross is too slow for you, the Corvette Museum road course, the track day, Thursday, we sell a standalone wristband for that. So that's $280.
Nice.
At that point, that'll get you into the track on Thursday. And then if you want to hang out on Friday and Saturday, see however, you know, what's going on, check out the show, the vendors. We've got a spectator wristband. So you can still park with all the Camaros, but you're just not racing on Friday and Saturday. That's $30. So anybody can buy that. A lot of people get the road course day pass, you know, by itself, and then they get a car show pass, or excuse me, a spectator pass, just so they can hang out on the weekend. If you want to race on the weekend, you want to do drag racing, you want to do autocross, and you're not interested in the road course, that's 110. That's a 2-day pass. It'll get you into drag racing both days, autocross both days if you got the time. There's also a car show that we're doing. To enter the car show, it's a separate pass. It's $20. We find that the car show is such a popular part of this, and in 2 days we can't thoroughly judge as many cars as usually sign up. That
Right.
we're doing kind of an entry fee for it. So $20 on top of any of the passes, any of the other wristbands. The $20 will get you into the car show to be judged. So I find sometimes there's confusion. Most shows are car shows, so why am I paying extra for it, or don't I just get in? Or some people want to pay extra because they want to park with other Camaros. It's an event full of them, so you will be parked next to another Camaro. You don't need a car show pass to do that. But if you want your car judged, then that's the $20 pass. So so that's kind of how you get in. You need some form of a wristband to get into Beach Bend on Friday and Saturday. You need some form of a driver's pass to get into the NCM road course on Thursday. If you have family or friends or somebody who's coming with you, they can get into the track for free. There used to be an observation deck. The tornadoes got rid of that, but you can hang out, you can watch the show or the racing, and that's free to come in. We're not doing passengers for insurance reasons, but you can come with your racing spouse or family member, friend, or whatever. You can come and do that for free, which is great. So it makes for a good 3 solid days of stuff. If you have a wristband, you can participate in our cruise. We're going to do a bourbon cruise on Sunday. That'll go from Bowling Green up to the Maker's Mark distillery. It's about an hour and a half-ish drive. Really fun. I don't know. You mentioned doing a cruise. It's hard to describe. If nobody's ever been part of one, it is really, really wild to see all of those cars together. It's like when you're driving down the road and you might see 2 other Camaros or 2 other Firebirds or something, or you get all excited about it. This is hundreds, and it's a friggin' blast. So that's free. We don't charge for that. We just kind of wish that you'd be part of the CAMAROFEST festivities, to participate in that. But you got Camaro. Then we've got the parking lot parties. Every night that you're there, somebody's going to be out in the parking lot with the car. And what we didn't realize was going to happen this first year that we did this back in 2010. We knew people liked car shows. We knew people liked racing. We knew people liked to go to dinner and have a good time. What we didn't realize is
the after show parties.
The after show party in that parking lot until God only knows when in the morning.
Been involved in a few of those myself. Yeah.
Yeah, and then this thing happened that I guess I just didn't think about. There's a lot of people that do like Underglow and behind the grill lights, and they change their headlights, and they got things going inside and TVs in the trunk and all this light up stuff that you can't really see during the day. It's like a circus out there at night. It's so incredible to see all this stuff. So that's those people's time to shine. We're out there, it's dark, light up your car. And that's a good time. That happens pretty much every night from Wednesday on. It just depends on who's there and how many people. The biggest night is going to be Saturday night. It's at the Host Hotel. We're going to do a concert at the convention center. Nice. So last year was our 10th anniversary year. We decided to do a concert. We had a Kid Rock cover band, Kid Kentucky, cool. and they did a great job. The show was a blast. We're not charging anything for that either, but we do expect you to have your wristband from the days before. We'll have security at the door. This year, we're going to do the same thing. People seem to have a good time at that, so we're going to change it up a little bit. We've got a group. I got to pull up their name here because I just started talking with them. They're called That Arena Rock Show, and if you look them up on YouTube, you can see some promo videos. They do a lot of 80s rock, classic rock.
Right.
So they're going to be there on Saturday night. We're going to do another concert, and just, again, you have the wristband. You can come in, take a look. There'll be cash bars from the hotel in the back. Go back out to the parking lot. You can do whatever you want. So that should be a pretty fun time. I think Friday. I'm trying to remember that a lot of the stuff that goes on, like you said, after the show, we don't organize the concert we're doing, but everybody else kind of does other stuff. And I want to say it's Friday that they do the 10 p.m. rev off. And this was new a couple of years ago. And it's kind of wild to see, 300 cars, all V8s and V6s and everything out there with loud exhausts on it. And for about a minute straight, just revving the crap out of their engines. And it's just such a cool sound. And it's happening because you'll forget the time, right? You're just enjoying yourself. And all of a sudden, you'll start to hear some thunder, and you go outside, and it gets louder and louder and louder. And people have their phones, taking videos and stuff. So, in a nutshell, I guess that's the show. That's what we do. You can come for any part of it. You can stay for all of it. If you do stay for all of that, you figure you get in on Wednesday. That's 5 days of Camaro, and it's a great
sure.
Yeah.
Some of those, I'm calling them after show parties, but some of those, at the end of the night meets, some of those organic meets, are some of them that are most memorable, right?
Yeah.
I was first, when we first started, we would go up here like to the OCC Nats, and we were a pretty big presence at the Nationals because that's where we all got to get together at least once a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the people that were further away, and we had a blast during the day, but we had a bigger blast at night, just hanging out, right?
Yeah.
So that was the one thing that we had done, kind of like what you guys had done, right? Provide a safe space where, everybody can get together and not worry about having to drive or whatever, right?
Right.
So,
well, not to go down this road, but you said safe place, safe space. This is a Camaro show that, and anybody else that shows up, that's our friend. We've got security there. The town has worked with us to try to keep malcontents out of the area. Occasionally we'll have a group of people show up and they get the wrong idea. It's not dangerous or anything, but it's just, you're killing my buzz, and so they'll show up and they're expecting street races and pink slips, and it's like that's not what we're here for.
No.
So towns worked with us to kind of blockade the road. We get a section of the parking lot cordoned off, and it's for us. If you got that wristband, if you're here with a car, you like us, we like you, then it's an awesome time.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And most of the guys watch out for each other, certainly, right? Because they all have the same interest, which is their cars, right?
Right. It's funny you say that. One of the things that I pretty much routinely have to gently explain to new participants is that you do not need to park in 4 spots in our parking lot, because the person that you're parking next to loves their car just as much as you love yours. And they'll watch out for yours because they know how much you love yours, and vice versa. So, we'll get a couple new people and they'll do the double park thing. And it's like, look, there's not enough space for that. And you don't need to worry. We'll hold the door and not ding you. And that's another, that's a cool thing to realize is we get it. It's you're
Yeah,
not
yeah,
parking in a shopping mall parking lot. You're parking
no,
amongst people who understand.
yeah, yeah. I know certainly for some of the shows that we had went to as a group or individually. I had brought somebody new with me one time. And they're like, "Aren't you worried about your car cover on a 91?" And they were like, "Aren't you worried about it?" Like, no, I'm not worried about it. I said, because you know why I'm not worried about it? I said, because there's always somebody watching this parking lot. At least,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like X number of people, right? There's somebody watching the whole parking lot, right?
Yeah,
Because they would expect the same thing that I expect, right? Is just
right.
make sure that there's somebody watching, right? So I'd be like, no,
Mhm.
I sleep fine at night, right? And the more you go to them, the more relaxed you'll kind of get, especially when you're around the same people and stuff. And just quickly getting back to the drag racing and the autocross and that. I haven't done a ton of it because I never had a car fast enough to do it originally, right?
Right.
When I got to 2010, yeah, it was a little different, but that was my daily driver, and I was kind of passive at that point, right? But I will say it was a lot of fun, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Certainly when I had my third gens, right? It was a lot of fun, and the car seemed to run a lot better after I got it off the track because you were like blowing the shit out of the back of it, right? But
Yeah.
if you're new to it and you want to experience it, it's a controlled atmosphere, it's a controlled environment
Yeah.
where you have people around there going to show you how to handle things. And again, if you want to interject anywhere, Joe, go ahead. But you
No,
have
you're
people who are going to show you how to handle the car, you
Mhm.
know, and what to do and what not to do. So you're not just out there by yourself, right? So
Right.
and it's a special environment where you can do it and not have to worry about cops giving you crap about doing
Oh yeah.
whatever. I mean, they're bad up here. I can imagine they don't let very much slide down there. So
Yeah, everybody's got their thing. You touched on a good point. It's if you ever wanted to drive your car fast, if you want to know what that thing can do. And I gotta be honest, most people that buy these cars drive them on the road. I don't care how fast you accelerate, you don't really know what
yeah,
that thing can do until you stick it on that road course,
yeah,
until you run it through the cones, and you're even the drag strip, you might fly on an on ramp and then throttle back before you hit traffic. Well, there's no traffic on the drag
no,
strip.
no.
So we don't have a formalized school or instructors or anybody
No,
sitting
no,
out
no.
there.
That's not what I meant. Like you're around fellow people that will,
Right. Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. You're
yeah,
going to be there with seasoned pros and
exactly.
and very experienced amateur racers, and they'll tell you what to do. You get off that track, if you miss the light, if you miss the gear, or whatever, they'll give you a tip. I don't do so much with the drag racing. Just personally, it's not really my thing, but on the
Right.
autocross on the road course, we've had people go out there. They'll give each other rides, and we got the helmets on and everything. And it's, how can I take this corner better? How can I get around that that cone faster? And at one point, there was a young man he had I think it was a 13 SS1LE, and he was doing okay, but he didn't trust the car. It was one
Right.
of, that new driver. I'm going fast, but the car wasn't.
Right.
So he was
Yeah.
asking for some tips, and I hopped in the driver's seat and I said, do you trust me? Is it okay if I drive
Yeah.
this car like I drive mine? And he goes, yeah, go for it. So, I did it. We shaved some seconds off, and the
That must
cool
have
thing
helped.
is the light bulb that went off when he
Yeah.
got out and goes, "That was my car. Like, I can do that?"
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, with some practice, you can. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's a good place to do all this stuff. And the both facilities, with both the road course at the Corvette Museum and the drag strip and the autocross, we'll have EMTs on site. We'll have fire people. They'll hopefully not do anything all day, but they're
No,
there.
it's good to have them
And
there.
yeah, and that's something you can't say when you do the street racing stuff, or if you
Right.
accelerate on the on ramp. So we
Right.
haven't had too many issues, and I'm thankful for that. I think I think we've got a good atmosphere going of have fun, but you want to drive home in the same condition
Right.
you drove
You have
here.
to drive the thing home. So,
Right.
be safe, but, I mean, and I will tell anybody if they're new to it, right? You know, start out slow, you
Hmm.
know, and if you're not used to the car, especially if you're new, and you just bought the car, and it doesn't matter if it's, if it's a ZL1 like yours, or if it's just a 6 or a 4, you want to experience it, start out slow, right? And if you're not used to the car, maybe get used to it a little bit more, you know, and take a couple of passes on if it's the strip or in the cross, whatever, start out slower speed and then kind of work your way up and you
Hmm.
get a little more comfortable. And like you said, right, there's people, there's fellow enthusiasts there who are more seasoned, who
Right.
will be more than glad to help you because nobody wants to see anybody get hurt. We want to
Right.
see everybody go home safe, right? So,
Yeah. And the neat thing that would separate an event like ours from a generic track day, which are great. And if you like that stuff, do it. Do it every weekend if you can.
right,
Um, but we're all in the same car.
right,
So, you could go to a road course and you might get some advice from a guy that drives a 911. You
right.
might get some advice from a guy in a Miata or a Viper. That'll be nice, but it's not the same car.
It's
And
not because cars don't handle the same. Yeah,
right. So this is that cool opportunity to go hang out with people that drive the same thing you do, and maybe we can all help each other out using the same language. So
yeah,
it's a very unique um, environment in that way.
very cool. Um, Is there anything? Is there? I mean, I think you covered most of it, but is there any extras above what we discussed, or is it that those? I mean,
Um,
those are pretty much the layers, right, or the tiers, I
yeah.
guess.
So, excuse me. There's a lot of self-organized stuff, that, like you said earlier, organic things.
Yeah,
So there's a Wednesday, kind of a rival party. They pick a restaurant and basically take the whole place over. You
right.
can find information about that on our Facebook groups and on the forum. And we don't manage any of that. So those are the extras. You could find caravans or Camaro vans, driving up from your region. You can hook up with them.
Hmm.
At some point, they're going to have to drive from their hometown to Bowling Green. So maybe you can, pick them up in the middle. Um, and that's a blast too. When I see these guys come into the hotel, just
Yeah.
arriving and taking the bags out, and there's 18 of them coming in from Texas or wherever. It's a cool.
Many of them come from up here in Ontario, right? I mean,
Yeah, right. They have. Um, in fact, it's not Canada, but I think well, I can't really say that. I'm going to upset somebody, but the the Camaro team, our first event, first event, they drove down from Detroit in their own Camaro van, and they were covering it on social media, and it was Al Oppenheiser, and at the time
yeah,
Cheryl
yeah, I think I
Pilcher.
remember that. Yeah,
And they had 6 or 7 cars. A couple of them were that Synergy Green that they had just come out with, and they had the
yeah,
convertible, which was new. And so they're driving down and taking pictures of all people, googling over the new cars, and that was cool to see. You think of these guys as professionals, and they don't play.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
here they are driving cross country for a day and a half just to get to our show to be with the enthusiasts and hang out with everybody.
yeah.
So that was cool. But yeah, the dinners, the Camaro vans. We've got a commemorative coin that we'll sell. That's going to be limited production. We don't make a whole ton of those. That's on the
Yeah.
site right now. Trying to think of what else there might be.
I,
Again,
I just meant like, is there anything extra on the Camaro Fest side that I think you covered that in the sense of the tiers and stuff. Like you
yeah,
guys have
yeah,
a
yeah.
really great. So
Yeah, the thing is I guess to remember is that you get one of those wristbands and you're welcome to do all of that extra stuff.
oh
The
yeah,
parking
yeah,
lot parties, the concert, and all of it, the cruise. They're not separate events. You don't need to register for anything. You just need to know where to go, and we'll put that information on the website. So I kind of like that. It's very informal. I don't want to micromanage everything. Um,
hmm
so I think it's a neat little, like I said, about 5 or 6 days of Camaro. So
Yeah, and quickly you touched on the cruises and stuff. I know, you know, ours were not anything that big. I think the biggest cruise we had was about 65 cars, and even that, certainly if you can get the community into it, right? And it's part of the promotion. You're going to promote locally and all that. So, I mean, we had people out of their houses on the lawn
Yeah.
waiting for us to come by, and you know, that is such an awesome feeling, especially if you're, if you're new to the hobby or never been involved in a cruise, right?
Right.
Having upwards of hundreds of cars. You
Hmm.
can't. I mean, it's 65 cars. I couldn't see the front of the line on a straight.
No, right. Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It would
It's
have to
so
be a
we,
pretty long straight of 65 cars, right? So I can't
right.
imagine a Camaro Fest cruise with 200 cars. But
It's incredible. We try to cater the route to handle that because we don't want to get separated if we can help it.
no, no,
So,
kind of takes
it's
fun
not
out of
a
it.
lot of highway, but it's a lot of, you know, minimized turns, I guess, is what I could say there. We meet at the Corvette Museum itself because they're the only place around here that's got a parking lot quite big enough to contain us.
Sure,
Uh,
yeah,
the first year that we did this in Valdosta was also the first year that we ever did a cruise, and that one wasn't quite so big. I think we had a little over 100 cars on that one, but I'll never forget the cruise because I didn't have a car at the time. I can't remember if I was driving with Scott or somebody else, but we're we're going through town and we had a police escort from Valdosta. So they were driving into intersections, and regardless of the light, situation, they had their cop car there with the lights on. And we were
yeah.
driving through
We
intersections
don't do that
together.
kind of stuff up here in Canada. They gotta
Yeah.
train.
Yeah. And in this one particular intersection, like you said, there were people outside their houses videotaping, little kids that were seeing the yellow Camaros and shouting Bumblebee.
Yeah,
But there was this one intersection, and I just started laughing so hard. There was a tractor trailer at the head of the line waiting for the light to change. The cop pulls up in front, lights go on, everybody stops. We drive through. And I was kind of in the middle, maybe front third. The trucker gets out of his truck and he's standing on the steps outside the door, just hanging on the mirror, just watching his phone out. It was cool. So we try to keep that going. The Maker's Mark destination is really cool. If you've never been there before, it's the
no,
it's the distillery, it's the historical buildings. They let you dip a bottle, get that wax. Um,
nice.
so it's a pretty neat place. I think they've even got a bar and restaurant or something on site. I don't think I had time to visit, but very, very cool place to go. And it's, if you don't want to, then you cruise up with us and then you go back home. Or some people will cruise out of town with us and they don't follow it the whole way. They'll get off on a different road and start
Right.
going home. So it's kind of a, departing final goodbye for a lot of people. But we've got, like you said, maybe 100, 200 cars, I think, went last year.
Yeah. I think honestly, I think you'll do well this year. And again, we have a different perspective up here because COVID's handled differently,
Hmm.
for better for worse, than it is down there, right?
Right.
Um, and listen, I don't want to get into that whole debate, but it's dealt with different down there than it is up here,
Mhm.
right? So certainly, if anybody wanted to have a show in the last 2 years up here, they've pretty much forgotten about it. Now this year's kind of different because we're coming out of it, but
Right.
it's good to see. You know, it'll be good to see you guys do well this year because you'll see. I think you'll see some of us come down. Some of the Canadians come down this year, right? Now that we're allowed to. Um, and I think everybody's just kind of tired of being locked up. And
Oh yeah.
again, I have a different perspective than you guys do, right? So, up here, a lot of stuff's been canceled, a lot of stuff's been delayed, and whether
I
you,
I live
whether you want to
just
be or
over the
not.
border. Yeah, I live just over the border, and I got a bunch of friends from Canada, and I hear you.
Yeah,
It's that last year actually was one of our biggest concerns. A good number of our helpers came from Canada, and they couldn't come down with us, and we missed
right,
them a lot. Um, we really wanted to push the show because things were opening up down here, and we thought we could pull it off. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully this year everybody can join, and
Yeah.
we're looking forward to seeing our Canadian friends come back too.
Yeah, because you're just outside of Buffalo, are you not, Joe?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, I thought so. Again, the memory's not what it used to be, but I think we've met because I remember we come down, Scott and I come down for some big cruise or some big meet, and a bunch of us all got together. And I think you were there. Unfortunately, I was kind of under the weather that weekend. And I think I figured all the places we went was just, 5
Yeah,
six.
I've been to so many of these events now, and I try to get out, and a lot of them, it's kind of crazy to believe for me, but now I've been doing this since 2006. It's what, 16 years, 14 years. Hasn't gotten old yet, but
No,
there's a lot of you guys that I've met a long time ago, and like you said, it's one of those things like, well, I think I've met, and we were in the same group, or we're sitting around the same bonfire or whatever, and
yeah,
it's fun, the great many people that you can meet over a car.
right. Well, we would have met because you would have come up. You would have come up to the OCC Nationals
Mm-hmm.
that first year or second year, in and around there.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure that you were at the Fort Erie show with us when we did our Fort Erie show.
I want to say, yeah, I've been
from the US.
Yeah, and it wasn't a Camaro thing. I've been to St. Catharines a couple times for some shows.
Oh man, there too, yeah.
Yeah, so definitely could have crossed paths.
Yeah, so you know what? Really excited to see what this year can be for you guys. Really wish you all the best. How many ZL1s is this now? Is this the second or third?
For me,
Yeah.
This is the second one. The
thought
third car in the middle was an SS1LE.
that's right. Yeah. Because you got the. I remember when you got your first ZL1. Scott was telling me about it, and then
I missed that car.
yeah, you got rid of it and got that one, and then you got you got that 18 now, right?
Yeah, it's an 18 alphabet soup. It says ZL1 1LE.
Nice. Very cool. Well, I think we'll shut her down here. And you know what? Listen, I really appreciate you coming on. All the best to you guys this year. But you know what? I want to do this again closer to the event.
Sure.
We'll put some links on the channel on the event thing here on YouTube, and I'll drop some links on our Facebook group for your thing. Are you guys doing anything with your YouTube channel, or because I know that
I think at this point we're using it more as a hosting platform rather than using it as social media or monetizing or anything like that. But for right now, I'd probably say Facebook is the place to go. We're also on Instagram. We've got the main page where we're putting out news, and then we've also got the group where people can chat, and that's probably the best place to go for info right now.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, certainly we'll work. I'll work with you to make this thing the best that we can for you. And again, all the best. Truly honored to have you on, Joe. Please thank the guys for me for all the support.
Thanks for inviting me. I'm flattered to be interviewed on your channel, and I hope you guys grow as we do.
Well, you know what? It's kind of like a second wave for me. Again, we had to I had to step away from the club there for a bit. We're kind of looking at different things now, and right now it's just me, right? Kind of doing everything. We'll see how it goes. I mean, you know what? Life changes for everybody, right? So work dictates a lot, as you know, right? As much as you would like to do this every day as a job, you don't. You go to work every day, right? So
if you figure out a way to make that salary that you need doing this kind of stuff, you let me know, and I'll help you out.
You'll be the first to know. Trust me. You will be the first to know. Really appreciate you coming on, all the support. I can't say thank you enough, and we'll work with you guys to make CAMAROFEST 11 the best it can be, and we'll certainly do this again closer to the event.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me on, Mark. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. Take care, buddy.
Have a good night.
You too.